let's take a look at Dietz's games to watch. We've picked 3 that we're going to look at. And the first one is this one, Miami at Louisville, and that's noon Eastern.
Yeah, big game for Miami. Last time we saw Miami play on the road was at Cal, and we all know how that happened. And Louisville is not going to give up a 22-point lead in the fourth quarter.
No, so they're not.
Miami's really got to bunker down and come out. Cam Ward's got to show that he's really the leader of that team, and I think they really have to rely on the running game.
Let me get Dog's opinion on this game, because I know this is one of the ones that you were looking at also, and we talked about this in pre-show. This is one of your wild card games this weekend, is it not?
Yeah, this was literally on the list. Like 7:20 this morning is when I actually added this game to our pick list, because something just screamed out at me. Miami's trying to stay undefeated. Louisville has been hard-nosed the last handful of games. Mm-hmm. Something tells me this is going to go down to fourth quarter possessions. And I cannot wait to see how this game plays.
Here's the thing I have with Louisville. They're coming off of a home loss against SMU, a game that they should not have lost in the first place. And yet they surrendered a lead against SMU. I'm about to say LSU. They surrendered a lead against SMU and allowed SMU to run away. They can't allow Miami to run away, especially, Dietz, I come back to you. They cannot allow Cam Ward to be Cam Ward in this game.
Well, I think they can't, but I really think the game changer for this game is Damian Martinez. And we haven't seen him have a breakout game in the Miami backfield. This is a kid who led the Pac-12 in rushing last year. Mm-hmm. This is a kid who can run the football. I think Miami really has to run the football here because they have to keep the ball away from Louisville.
Yeah, they do, because Louisville loves to put up points and they love to put up yards, and they're going to try to do both on Saturday. Second game we're going to look at, this one here, Alabama and Tennessee in the SEC, 104,000 maniacs inside the checkerboards at Neyland Stadium. Dietz, your thoughts?
Both teams need to win this game. I mean, more so Tennessee than Alabama can overcome where they're at right now. But
yeah,
this is a statement game for Tennessee. They Josh. We all know Josh Heupel's offense. Alabama struggled with them last year with Nick Saban as their coach. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that pressure and just the pressure of that offense of play after play after play. You cannot give up the big play against them.
Upstairs to the Dog on this one. We all talked about this again in pre-show. It's in Knoxville. There's going to be 100,000 plus fans, as I mentioned, at Neyland Stadium. But I agree with Dietz. This is one Tennessee has to have more than Alabama.
Easily. Tennessee wants to try to make the playoffs this year. They have to beat Alabama in their house. And this is going to be one of those games where if they don't do it, I'm sorry, they're not making the playoffs this year, plain and simple.
Downstairs to Droid, let's have a look in his crystal ball at this particular game. Alabama and Tennessee, it's a 3:30 kick. It's in Knoxville. What do you think would be a big key to this game for Tennessee to pull this one out?
I mean, it's going to be pretty simple for you, Brian. I'm just going to keep it plain and simple. One big thing that they need to realize is they've lost Alabama's lost in Tennessee before. You know, they took that big loss to Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia, but this ain't no Vanderbilt. This is Tennessee.
Right.
This is not a opponent you can even remotely underestimate. No, you have to treat Tennessee like it's the playoffs. And that's what Arkansas did. That's how Arkansas beat Tennessee. They treated it like a playoff game.
All right. And then, of course, the big one that we'll have here on the network, it is Georgia and Texas at 7:30. Downstairs to Dietz. Have at it.
This is the game that solidifies Texas, and This is the game that's a tech. That, everybody in the chat on Saturday watching all the games, and no matter what game you were watching in the chat on YouTube, you always had people going, "Oh, Texas is not an SEC team. Texas is not an SEC team." And they
just beat the hell out of Oklahoma, who's also an SEC team.
Georgia, Texas is an SEC team.
You know when I thought Texas was an SEC team? Last year when they went into Bryant-Denny Stadium and kicked their ass. I thought they were an SEC team last year, even though they were still playing out of the Big 12 when they went to Alabama and won. This is a big one for Texas, yes, but I think they've already solidified themselves as an SEC team, Dietz.
Now, in that fan base, it's not about beating Oklahoma. Texas and Oklahoma again. Texas and Oklahoma are outsiders right now. They're outsiders in the SEC in that fan base. That fan base will not embrace them until they beat Georgia and they beat Alabama. Those are the two games that are going to make people go, all right, Texas is now in the SEC, because right now Texas is just they're there. They don't even mention them as an SEC team. The SEC lifers are never going to accept them if they cannot beat Georgia or Alabama.
I hate you, Droid. That was our theme yesterday. That was our theme yesterday when we did Broad Sectional Confessions. We're like, they're just there. And if you think about what Dietz is saying, he's absolutely right. SEC lifers do not look, at least not yet, at Texas and Oklahoma at SEC teams. I go downstairs to Droid. They're just there right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Coming from the Big 12, a lot of these SEC teams look at these Big 12 teams and they really underestimate them. And this is Texas and Oklahoma's chance to say, we're not just Big 12 teams no more. No. We're in the SEC now. And you better treat us like we're in the SEC or else we're going to smack you.
And this is the one. This is the one that will solidify Texas in the SEC should they win Saturday night. Upstairs to the dog. Take a peek in your crystal ball at this one.
Georgia needs this more than Texas right now. If Georgia's going to have a chance to make the playoffs, they need to beat Texas in Texas's house. Plain and simple. And right now, I do not think Georgia has the ability to do it. I'm sorry, AJ Styles, but your dogs have got some problems heading into Texas Saturday night.
Just on that point, Georgia can recover from this.
Yes,
and Georgia can recover from this by making the SEC. They still have a road to the SEC championship. Even if they lose to Texas, they would have losses to Texas and Alabama. If they beat Tennessee, they're going to the SEC championship game.
Right.
So, Texas still has to go through Alabama. They still have to go through LSU. They still have to go through all the SEC West teams, Ole Miss. All of those teams are still in front of Texas to stop them from getting to the SEC championship. Georgia can still make the SEC championship game even if they lose this game.
Yeah, they can they can absolutely back their way in and recover from their two biggest losses, should they lose this game on Saturday, would be on the road at Alabama and on the road at Texas. Okay, and both are top five teams. So as you said, Dietz, Georgia can easily recover from this game. Whereas with Texas, with not only a playoff spot on the line, the number one ranking on the line, also plus a whole lot of playoff position rides on the line also for Texas.
And it's gonna come down to how Texas play, how this game plays out, because what have we all said? We all said things about the Big 12. We talked about the Big 12 for years. I made the statement on the Big 12 where defense is optional. Yes. Now you're in the SEC. They have to show that they can play defense. They have to show defense. Like it doesn't matter if they come out and win a shootout with Georgia, which is a possibility. Anything could happen. We saw what Georgia can do against Alabama when they came back and started playing in that game. But if this game is a shootout, everybody's going to go, oh, well, this isn't a real SEC team. Wait till they play, get in a defensive struggle. That it's going to come down to how this game plays out, and they can't just shoot out. They got to show up on